What's up? This is Big Lenbo. You're watching Hot New Hip Hop. I grew up in Adelphi, Maryland. Had a pretty normal childhood. Adelphi is right outside of Washington, D.C., and I lived there since 1989. I've seen it change a lot through the 90s and 2000s. But I lived basically everywhere around the suburbs. Childhood was pretty normal. Two parents, brothers and sisters, big family.
I read about that. Really big fan.
Yeah, really big fan. Southern Asian family, and yeah, I'm mixed though. But on my dad's side, grew up with that whole side of my family in Maryland, and yeah, pretty normal, not too crazy. I was kind of a knucklehead growing up, man. I got into partying and smoking weed, and early, when I was like in eighth grade, and so I was kind of just out there. My house, my parents were always beefing. They split when I was like 13. So I was kind of just outside. I was that kid. I was just outside all the time. My mom was very laid back. She was accepting. Of the homies and stuff, the friends that would come over, and my house was like a hangout kind of spot. Yeah, about 2009, right around the time I met Logic, I started rapping around 2009, and because I met Logic, actually, he was home recording. I was like the first time I had any experience of that, and always enjoyed writing and enjoyed hip hop, loved hip hop, and yeah, just started making music then. Growing up in the early '90s, it was
Low End Theory.
yeah, that was the Low End Theory. Tribe Called Quest is why I love music so much. That was the first album I really fell in love with. But yeah, just hip hop was like the first love, the music genre that I really love, and it is like the foundation. I love everything nowadays, but yeah, hip hop, that early stuff, it was a very pivotal time, and people call it the golden age of hip hop, But I feel like hip hop is alive and well today. People my age don't necessarily think so, but you know. Working with Logic, quitting my normal job and moving to LA, I was trying to figure out where I would fit in the music industry. And after we created Young Jesus and that came out and it got good feedback, it really made me realize I did want to do the artist thing, go the artist route. It was just some, internal hurdles I had to face where, just the insecurities in my own nature really of just having a lot of attention and being on stage and being that guy. But it's something that I've always really wanted, and I just had to be honest with myself and push myself and have the right people push me into it, and now it's paying off. I feel like I've moved past the hardest part of my career, really, which was like myself, my own insecurities about it. It's wild, man. I feel like I've always been supposed to do this, but I just didn't let myself do it. You know what I mean? I met Logic back in 2009. He was opening up for Ghostface Killer, this tiny club in Gaithersburg. And it was like a work night, and I went out to go see Ghostface. And here's this kid on stage opening up, and he's like rapping his ass off. And I could tell he's young, and it really impressed me because I didn't think kids like rap like that anymore. So he couldn't actually stay for the show. He had to leave, but he hung out outside, right? And I saw him, and we just talked and kicked it, and we talked about music, making music, and we just became friends after that, man. That was just off that one conversation, and it's changed my life. Letting Logic live in my basement, like making that decision, I'd have to credit, just how I grew up and my people. We grew up looking out for each other, and he was a good friend at that stage, of our relationship, our friendship, and he was in trouble, and I had the space, I had the means to do it, and on top of that, I was already a fan of what he was doing, his music, his skill set, and I really believed in it, and we we were just committed. It was like an adventure back then. We didn't know what was gonna come of it. We knew the chances of it, but you gotta take a fucking chance in life. You know what I mean? Like, and it really paid off. It's really really amazing. Like what to see what he's accomplished from all these years. These last 7 8 years of rocking together, yo. So yeah, I really have to credit my upbringing and my parents because they've reached out and they've helped people. My dad was an immigrant, and he helped his family come to America, and they came here and spread their wings. After living with us and stuff. So I just it was just kind of something that was in me to help other people and help one another and like.
Big family.
That's right. Yes, that's right. It's not to say that I'm some saint or anything. It's just how I came up, and he was like my close friend at that time. So we just look out for each other. Yeah.
When you met Jay.
About a year into it, man, it's crazy how it worked out. Logic he changed my mind state of how I looked at the world. Like he really believed in having a positive mind state, speaking things into existence, like using that energy and making things happen in life, And me, I was already like a 9 to 5 or a regular job, kind of had my future panned out, I had my career and everything, but he's such a like special individual in that sense where he used his power, like just of the mind state of positivity and like keeping good energy and like working toward, and he's a relentless worker. That's another reason why he's so successful. But yeah, it changed my mind state. I never knew I'd be here being interviewed by you good people. So that's wild. Last year I gave up, man. Like last summer I gave up trying to be the artist, and I left LA, and I was really at my wit's end. I had never been at like such a crisis moment in my life, like not knowing where things were headed. And a few months after leaving, when I left, a couple weeks after leaving, I realized I didn't want to give up yet, but I wanted to stay out of LA and just do it another way. A few months after leaving, things didn't pan out how I wanted to. Had a conversation with Logic, and ended up coming back. So at that time, I'm depending a lot on him. I'm depending a lot on other family members. And I've never been like that. I've always just, ever since I was 19, had a full-time job, been out the house, been working. You know what I mean? It's just a normal kind of occurrence for me. So living this way, where you got to lean so much on other people and really not knowing where my life was heading, where my future was going, was very strange to me. So I felt like I was really in strange days, you know what I'm saying? And I was in a dark place, very aggressive place, and everything I wrote was after coming back to LA for that album. And that's just the whole it's kind of a loose concept, but because I don't really necessarily talk about this on the album, but it's just raps shit that I wrote that's kind of aggressive, dark, moody, whatever. And that's just how the whole concept came to be, man. Right, it's more of a looser concept and like a mood of it, yeah. I'm very familiar with the urban legend of the Goatman because it's from my backyard in Maryland. And I grew up knowing the urban legend of the Goatman. He was back in the federal agricultural park in the farms, and he was some secret, like some experimental guy, messed his genes up, and he's roaming the forest, he's killing people. And it's an urban legend from the 50s. And in Beltsville, Maryland, and yeah, it's just something that's ingrained in me growing up in PG County, and I don't know. I'm a Capricorn. I've always liked goats. I've eaten a lot of them in my day. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm part goat. So it's just I just wanted that imagery too, because goats are kind of like they got a kind of a negative imagery in some superstitious circles. You know what I mean? But I've always seen them as a positive thing. Like, if you're from other parts of the world, they're a very big part of like food and culture. You know what I mean? But not in America. But anyway, yeah. So I just kind of compare my come up or some of my darker side to the Goatman, and I just kind of make that parallel. And it's really just a fun kind of concept, kind of left, but I really like that beat, and it just like Yeah, I don't know. I really like a Mad Lib, MF Doom kind of vibe. That yeah, that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
too. I was talking about, I was like, man, this is like perfect. But
I
I had
wanted
this
to work.
question, like,
I wanted to work goat imagery in somewhere, and that was what I got. I'm a horror movie buff, and like, I'm not a superstitious person. I grew up religious, and I'm not religious anymore, and I'm not superstitious at all. You know what I mean? But I always loved like the fear factor. You know what I mean? Like watching something and have it fuck with your mind. You know what I mean? And like kind of challenge you. You know what I mean? And I like that kind of stuff. Like I like love scary movies and horror movies, thrill movies, and yeah, I just always like The Exorcist. Obviously, the cover is actually taken on the Exorcist stairs in Georgetown. Yeah, so it's like kind of an iconic movie thing. I love film too, so it's an iconic movie thing. It's in DC, and it's The Exorcist, one of the greatest, probably the greatest horror movie of all time. So it just made sense to me to do the Strange Days cover on that. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm probably the luckiest opener of all time. Like, it's Logic fans, they all know me, and Joey fans, like you said, we're kind of in the same vein of hip hop, and yeah, it's been amazing. Like they come out early, show's great, man. I'm really getting down the performance part of it, which was to me it was going to be the biggest challenge. It was like, I've never done a 20-minute set or performed really at any extensive time. You know what I mean? So I'm really embracing it and having fun now. And yeah, it's a good show overall. Joey's amazing. His catalog is incredible, and he's a great performer. And then Logic's just put so much into this. He's an unbelievable performer himself. So the tour, I mean, it's an amazing show. Like, I'll be honest, just as a fan looking at it, you know, if I wasn't a part of it, I'd definitely be wanting to come. So I love hip hop, period, and I like where it's at, man. You know, it's kind of all over the place. You could have whatever you want these days. You know what I mean? Like you could have rap like I make, or you could have the totally at the opposite. You know what I mean? And I listen to everything. Like I li- I just refuse to be closed off or. You know what I mean? You got to embrace change in life in general, and music is gonna change. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy that's like, it has to be this. Nah, cause I have fun, man. I like the Migos. I like Young Thug. I like all this stuff. When I create and when I write, what's in me is what's in me. You know what I mean? You gotta respect the next dude that's doing his thing, and who gives a fuck, man? Just turn it off if you don't like it. Who cares? Like it doesn't even matter. It shouldn't even be an issue. But yeah, I love music in general, and yeah, people should just be open when they create, and be honest when they create. And what's out there is out there. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. That was actually an insecurity I had was when I was trying to come out as an artist was where do I fit in all this? Do I have to go? Do I have to make it sound like this? Do I have to have something like this? You know, if I go too much this way, is it going to be, and you just can't look at it like that. It took me a while to get over that and just say, I just got to make what I make. You know what I mean? Shit that speaks to me, that I like, that's what I'm going to put out there. And you're either going to like it or not, and you just accept that, That's it.